Hello, good morning, guys. Welcome back to another math learning session. It's my pleasure to be with you along this journey and being able to see your growth as mathematicians. Let's see right away what we have for today. Our teaching point for today is I can use equations to solve two-step word problems involving all four operations. I really like this lesson and the coming one because we're going to be actually working with word problems. I know that this word problem might be challenging sometimes, but whenever we face a challenge, we are actually allowing our skills and our brain to grow. So I really like this opportunity that we have this time. So as I mentioned before, we're going to be using the four operations. So this time, we're not targeting only two at the same time. So you gotta be ready for everything that might come up in this case. Right, so today is Wednesday, April 1st. So um, we just wrap a month and we're beginning just new one right there. Our lesson name for today is Solve Two-Step Problem. So I encourage you to pause the video and get the date and lesson name and teaching point written in your notebook, and then jump in right away into the quick practice. In our quick practice for today, we have a word problem. It says, Jack collects sports trading cards. He has 44 baseball cards, 92 basketball cards, 76 hockey cards, and 152 soccer cards. How many more soccer cards than baseball and hockey cards combined does Jack have? Alright? So focus on this question because you have a situation where you need to meet or actually get together. If I keep on talking, I'm probably gonna give you the answer. Where you need to mix two of these types and then compare that result to the other one, to the other type that they're asking you there, right? So anyway, I'm sharing here right here the answer, just so you can confirm right away your operations. If you don't get this answer, give it another try to the exercise, read it again. And if you don't get it, let me know and I will help you out with the procedure. So since we're talking about two-step word problem, I think that it's important that we go over about the concept word problem. What is a word problem? So basically in math, a math problem, it is a math problem in which the information needed to solve the problem is provided using words rather than numbers or symbols. It requires you to read or listen before solving the problem using your math skills. So basically, it's a problem that you can actually solve using math, right? So it is important that you understand what you're reading and what the situation is so you can actually apply the operations that are right to solve the problem. Knowing this, then I think that we're ready to move on to a two-step word problem. As we saw before, when we work with word problems, or with the one that we have practiced so far, we have made use of only one equation to actually come up with an answer. In this case, it's a little bit different, as its name might suggest. So what is a two-step word problem? Alright? So a two-step math word problem requires you to solve two equations. Alright? So you have a pretty clear hint right there. If you don't get two equations in the process, that means that you're skipping something. You need to go back and revisit the problem. Right? So you're supposed to have two equations to actually solve the problem before you can actually come up with an answer. The problem might have two different operations. For example, you might combine addition and multiplication, or subtraction and addition, division, multiplication, whatever combination might come up. So that's why we need to make sure that we understand what the situation is before we get to apply any operation. Right here I share with you a few steps that if you follow them will easy your way in order to come up with these solutions. So the first one is read carefully the problem. Sometimes we read it, but we don't get it the first time, so I'll give it a second try. Read it again until you're sure about what they're asking you. Second step, underline the facts you will need to solve the problem. What are these main keywords? For example, more, greater than, fewer. Those are keywords that tells me, for example, what operation to use or give me a hint that might get me pretty close. Alright? Third step, draw a picture if needed to help you solve the problem. Many times, when we get to see what the situation is, we can actually come up with a equation or with the solution very easily. So if you need to see it in display, you can make a drawing of the situation. Number 4, write a number sentence for the problem. Now that I'm clear with what I'm asked to, and I know what operation to try, then I can write my situation equation. Then on the step number 5, am I supposed to solve the problem? Showing my work, always showing my work. I know that sometimes you can actually try this in your mind, but I need to actually see your work to see what your brain process is. So at last, you're going to check your answer. Does this make sense? So I need to be sure that my answer is like pretty close to reality of what I'm being asked. Right, so let's take a look at this problem. I will be solving the first one. I got this one on your student activity book. I won't leave this many as an assignment, but I need you to actually follow the steps that I'm going to give you right here so I can see in detail that you were able to apply the skills that we're going to develop today. Right? So let's take a look at the word problem. It says, at Parks Elementary School, there are 6 fourth grade classes, all right, with 17 students in each class. On Friday, 23 fourth graders brought lunch from home, and the rest of the students bought lunch in the cafeteria. How many fourth graders bought lunch in the cafeteria on Friday? All right, so probably we read it. We kind of get the idea. We got fourth grader, we have a few classes, but we don't know actually where to begin at. So let's reread the word problem. At Parks Elementary School, okay, that's a school, there are 6 fourth grade classes, okay? In San Joseph, we only have 2 fourth grade classes, but in this one, we have 6, all right? So right there, I have a number, an information, let's say, piece of information. Now, every class has 17 students. So that means, or might mean, that if I want to find the total number of students that there are in this class, I need to either try multiplication or addition. I could try, for example, addition by saying that I can add 17 plus 17 plus 17 plus 17 plus 17, 6 times 17, right? Or I can actually use multiplication and try it in a shorter way. So the first step that I will try, all right. So the first step that I will try will be that I'm going to multiply the 6 classes that I have times the 17 students that I have in every class. Since I don't know what the product is, I will represent that product with letter P. I will write this equation in the vertical form so I can easily get to multiply this. Beginning by the ones, I'm going to multiply 6 times 7, that is equal to 42. I will leave my 2 in the ones place, and then I will come up with the new, with the 4 on the new tens column. Then I'm moving on to the tens place. 6 times 1, it is equal to 6, plus the 4 tens that I just got makes a 10 right there. So my answer, my total amount of students is 102. So if I take a look at the first sentence right here, I just came up with the first piece of information. I already know what my total amount of students is. Now, as you can see right here, I have two labels. I have one for my first step, and then I have another one for my second step. That way I make sure that I don't skip any step, and that way I have it organized in such a way that can be readable and understandable for everybody. Right? So first step is done. That's my total amount of students. So let's keep on reading. On Friday, 23 fourth graders brought lunch from home. Right? So that means that from these 102 students, 23 of these brought lunch from home. And the rest of the students bought lunch in the cafeteria. Right here we have a keyword, which is expressed. That meaning that I'm supposed to subtract, find the difference, which is kind of the same, right? So using this number right here, 102, which is the information that I just got, I'm going to begin my next step. Always, every time, with the result that I get from my first step, I will begin the second one. Because I didn't begin the second one right away because I needed the information provided in the first step. So I need to begin with this one. All right? So from this 102, they're telling me that only 23 of these brought lunch from home. So that means that the difference, that the remaining amount, just bought lunch in the cafeteria. So that means that I need to find the difference between these two so I can actually know how many of these bought lunch in the cafeteria on Friday. So I will subtract 23 from 102, which is equal to D. Why D, Mr. Joe? Yeah. Since we don't know what the answer is, I can use whatever letter or symbol to actually represent that unknown quantity. I use D for difference, let's say. So I write it in the vertical form like this. And then I get to follow the algorithm or method that you like for subtraction. In this case, my answer is 79. So that means that 79 fourth graders bought lunch in the cafeteria on Friday. So if we go over, I'm going to write one label for step one, another one for step two. Then I'm making sure that I understand what I'm being asked. I will detail my word problem step by step, sentence by sentence. I just write out the first sentence first, which gave me my first equation and my first piece of information in the problem. Then with that answer, I moved on to my second step, in which I was supposed to find out how many of this total amount of fourth grader bought lunch in the cafeteria. I also noticed that I was given a keyword right here, which is rest. They're talking to me about the rest of the class. So that means that they're talking about the remaining piece of something. And I know that the operation that does that is subtraction, which gives me a difference when I compare two things. I subtracted this 23 that brought lunch from home against my total amount, and I just got the difference, which is the amount of fourth graders that bought lunch in the cafeteria. All right? Hope that is very clear. If we get to follow the steps that I stated before, like reading the problem, understanding the problem, making a drawing if I need to, coming out with my equations, we're going to be good to go. All right, so in our independent work, we're going to only work on 3 exercises, but I really need you to focus on producing a quality work. All right, keep in mind that you're supposed to show every step of your work, and I need to see how you separate the two equations the same way I did. You're going to have a label for step 1 and then a label for step 2. All right? So the final answer right here on the second step will be the one that will answer the question that is being asked right here. If we take a look at the step one again, the step one doesn't answer the question that I'm being asked. It's just an information that I need to get to my final answer, all right? So make sure that when you answer your question, you focus on the answer you got from step two. All right, so we basically have three different problems where you're going to be using either addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. So you already know different methods to actually target these different operations. And then at last, the check for understanding, you're going to explain what two-step word sorry about that. You're going to explain what two-step problems are and how to solve them. All right? So basically, if you go back in the presentation and you take a look at the steps that I gave you, and also you get to complete the exercises that I just assigned, explaining this might come pretty easy. I need at least 4 sentences of you explaining this. Don't come up with just one sentence, right? As you might notice, I didn't explain this lesson in just 2 sentences. So I want you to write a little bit on how to solve a two-step word problem and what are these. What am I talking about when I talk about word problems? Alright guys, that will do it for today. I hope that you